In this video, I'm going to show how Spring Boot applications can be structured to improve maintainability. Okay, I have this project called University, and on the University project, I'll create some controllers, let's say a class controller, um, a student controller, a teacher controller, and the idea is that these controllers are going to go to the database to persist information and also to search information. So basically, I'm just going to show you how I will structure this project, but not do the implementation. So the first thing is let's create a place where we can save all our controllers. I create a package called controller in singular. I usually name all my packages in singular. So over here, let's say that we want to create a controller. Teacher, teacher, controller. Nice. So teacher controller also have some classes to serialize and deserialize information. Let's say that we want to create a class called teacher that will be a record, and let's create another one called teacher creation, because maybe when we want to return the teacher information we will return a different type of information than the one that we receive when creating a teacher. So nice. Okay, now let's do kind of the same. Let's create a student controller. Now let's create a student record and a student creation record. Now let's create a class controller, and now let's create a class record, and now let's create class record, class creation record, and let's create a building record, a building controller. If you notice, this package has like many classes and it can grow very quickly. So what I usually like to do, and it's good, is if there are like many classes that are very related, for example, these three, I usually put them in a package. However, if there are only one class, I usually leave that class on the package that they belong to. So let's do that. Let's create a package called class over here. Class. And let's move those three over here. Now let's rename it. Let's rename these. Okay, let's use classes because I cannot use the word class here. Okay, now let's create another package called student, and let's move all student related classes, and let's do the same with teacher. So now if you notice, this is much more cleaner than before. So if I want to look for the controller class and all related classes. Sorry, I meant the student controller. We can open this and we can see all the related classes along the controller. The same with teacher, but with building controller because I don't have any related classes, I just left it at the controller level package. So usually we have service on Spring Boot applications, and service basically is are the classes that handle all the business logic, so they don't live on the controller because the responsibility of the controllers are routing information and mapping information. So let's create a student service, and let's create another class, teacher service, and another one, um, class service, and another one, building service. Great. And the same idea could apply over here. I mean, if I have other classes very related to one of these classes, I could create a package inside of services and put all the related classes inside of that package. So another useful package is DTO. On the DTO, we can put all the classes that are being used for the DTOs, like student, teacher, and so on. Usually people like to add DTO at the end of the class. I don't like it. I believe it's very cleaner to don't use that because you have the DTO as part of the package path, so it makes clear that this is a DTO. So another package that I usually like to create is one called model. Over here we can put our entity. I usually put the entity inside of a package called entity. So let's say entity teacher. Now we have teacher building. And let's create a repository. I usually like to put the repository inside of model as well. Let's say teacher repository. So here, let's put this inside of model and package called repository. So this is how the structure would looks like. Some people like to put the classes that are used by the controller inside of DTO, but they are not part of the DTO. The DTO usually are classes that represent the business logic that you can move along services, and the controller only is used for receiving and returning information to the caller. Some bad practices that I've seen is that usually people create DTO and use those DTO both at the service level and also at the controller level. And the thing is, if we need to add a new property, that new property will be reflected on the controller level. And sometimes we don't want to expose some fields to the colors, but we need those fields around our business logic layer. So that's one of the bad practices that people usually do and I usually see. So if you really like this video, please subscribe.